Welcome, Bengals fans, to the Roaring Reactions on the Running Through the Jungle channel on Fans First Sports Network. I feel like we should have a little bit more ominous music for this Week 10 loss to the Texans. I'm your host, Brandon Harriet, with all the fellows today, Chase Younts, Tim Lyons, and Justin Lacey. I'm really glad that we don't do these things right after the game. I think we were probably all ready to throw some equipment around. But here we are again at 5-4, a loss to the Texans. Brought them to 5-4. Team in the AFC, we need to start stacking some AFC wins. It's a tough, kind of a peculiar spot we continue to put ourselves in year after year. So, Justin, I'm going to start with you. What were your first impressions of the day's game? Where'd your mind go from it?
I'm going to start with the very first drive of the game. You know, when Burrow hit that whole shot that was a dot to turn Irwin, I thought to myself, like, Joe's going to be feeling it. He understands that he has a legitimate chance to win the NFL's MVP award. And this was going to be one of those games where he's just going to put up an impressive stat line without any disrespect to the Texans. But I just didn't think that the Texans defense was going to stop him today. That was my initial thought after the first drive of the game. Then the rest of the game happened. And then it just determined my attitude. Like, this is a more frustrating game watching this than I saw when we watched the Titans beat us 24-3 or 27-3, when we saw the Browns beat us 24-3, and even when the Ravens beat us in week 2, this game felt a little more frustrating than that because this team could not match up well with you on paper. And yet here they are dominating you from the offensive side of the ball. You got no pressure on CJ Stroud. On the flip side, you stalled out on offense ridiculously after your first touchdown, and it just was like, huh? And I get it. We had multiple opportunities to win this game. The drop touchdown by Boyd that should have been the game winner is a killer because it's yet again another one of those things where I feel like Joe Burrow's shining moment to have a comeback win in that fashion gets robbed again, just like week 1 in his very first NFL career. He throws the game-winning touchdown pass to A.J. Green, but an overzealous OPI call wipes that out. Randy Bullock then misses that field goal, and then we lose. And it was like, huh? Burrow I get it. He threw the 2 ugly interceptions as well, too. But the story of the day was more on the defense. Like, the defense just couldn't get anything going to stop that offense. The Texans could not run the ball to save their lives all season long coming into this game. I understand CJ Stroud has been great. Last week, we saw him pull off a heroic effort, throwing for 470 and 5 touchdown passes. But to do it again, really, against our defense, I was thinking to myself, he's not going to do that again. But he ended up doing it again. And hats off to him. He played a great game. We had missed opportunities, but they also had opportunities to put that game at a much larger lead, and it didn't work out in their favor. So at the end of the day, the right team won. They showed up and they showed out. I tip my cap to the Houston Texans. They got a good one in CJ Stroud. And ultimately, we got to regroup because Thursday night is around the corner and Baltimore just lost again too today. So they're not going to be a happy bunch when we come into town this Thursday.
Yeah, we really lost that war in the trenches for sure. Their defensive pressure push up the middle was exactly what we were lacking when we were on defense. I thought we had some, good splash plays. I expected us to make, and even if you go back to the predictions, I expected us to make those halftime adjustments, those Lou Anarumo halftime adjustments, and come out and take control of the second half. The opposite happened with their offense. Came out and made those changes, gave the ball up more, found holes in those zones. So yeah, it was pretty disappointing that, like, I didn't hit the panic. I will disagree with you. Watching the game 1 and the weather against the Browns and Burrow not being able to get around, that was probably the worst I've felt since Burrow's gotten here, other than the game he blew his knee out on.
I do agree with that. You know, that we can make a lot of things about that week 1 game. But I was saying like more of a frustrating, like this was a very frustrating game today watching this because you're thinking as a Bengals fan, you're healthy now. There's no
Yeah.
excuses. You can't use injuries as an excuses. The Houston Texans were missing a boatload of guys and they didn't practice all week. They didn't have Nico Collins at wide receiver, but yet you had Noah Brown just mollywhoppers on their side of the ball. And we had our guys. You can talk about, oh, we didn't have T. Higgins. It don't matter, man. Again, we have injuries across the board. That's why this game was more frustrating to me in that standpoint. But I understand that it's obviously. Go ahead. Sorry.
And frustrating part to me about that, Noah Brown wasn't making contested catches. There wasn't people within 7 yards of him on half of his catches.
Like it was the same run, the same play action, you know, fake to the running back, roll out to the right or left, and then Noah Brown is freaking wide open.
Throw it back across, you know, he'd roll to his left, throw it back to his right, roll to his right, throw it back to his left. And that gap was there. They found the gap, and we never made that correction to it. Tim, what was your first impressions, and where did your frustration lie?
You know, when the game started, I was impressed with, you know, it's our typical, you know, run down the field, score touchdown. And then when we held the Texans, got the ball back, I was like, okay, well, you know, this could be a good game. Then the shitstorm happened. You know, Schultz, I believe on that next drive that the Texans had, Schultz was wide open down the field. And unfortunately for me, my frustration is just this whole game was awful. You know, when I was watching it, Brown was wide open, or whatever his name was, 150 yards.
He had 170.
Or did he have 170? I thought it was 150. But anyways, it don't matter. The defense played awful. The defense was awful. You know, yeah, partially had to do with because they were on the field a lot. You know, but when we, you know, cause 3 turnovers and not win this game and allow 544 yards, over 150 rushing yards, 356 passing yards, only 1 passing touchdown and 2 rushing touchdowns. You know, I don't know. Like I said in our text messages, where is our defense at? Where was our secondary at? Why is nobody, you know, why is nobody doing anything? You know, I understand that they're tired. I got that. I get it. They get tired. You know, if I was the defense, I'd be tired of being on the field all the time too. Joe Burrow had plenty of opportunities to get us in the scoring positions and to score touchdowns. Plenty of opportunities. You know, if it wasn't for Tyler Boyd, we would have never had that chance to tie the game. Yeah, he dropped the ball when it mattered. Yeah, he did. You're right. But he's not the one throwing 2 interceptions either. I'm sorry, but I'm putting a lot of this on Joe's shoulders today. He cost us this game. Those 2 interceptions, if he would have not have thrown those 2 picks, we would have won this game. There'd have been no doubt. You throwing an interception in the freaking end zone? What the hell? Who was he throwing it to? Throw the ball away.
The one where he was rolling out to the right, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah. You know, who the hell was they throwing the ball to? Well, there goes points off the board. 3 turnovers, 0 points off those turnovers. 3 off of zero turnovers. I'm sorry, 3 turnovers, 0 points. That's unacceptable. And, you know, I'm not going to say anything about, you know, us missing T or not. I don't care that we were missing T because Jamar Chase going out there with a bum back has over 100 yards receiving a touchdown. Tyler Boyd, over 100 yards, you know, over 100 yards receiving. And, of course, you know, typical Bengals fashion, we ran the ball 11 times. 11 times. 11 times. You know, maybe that guy from, Texas, you know, was right. All we do is pass. You might get a run play in there every once in a while. And it's starting to pile up a little bit on us. And I'm not good. Go
listen,
ahead.
Again, not a situation where we ran the ball 11 times for 25 yards. I mean, we're averaging 4.2 a carry.
Right.
That's a situation where you give the ball like run the ball a little bit more, keep it honest, and get
Yeah.
ahead of the chains. There were way too many times where it was, you know, first, second down, we're throwing that little screen pass or this or that. We get 2 yards. We have an incompletion. Now it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. It
Right.
just way too much of that. I agree with you totally there.
You
And
know,
the possession, the time of possession that you kind of alluded to there, yeah, it was fairly close
yeah, it
when you
was.
look at it for the game. But the problem is in that end of the first quarter and midway through the second quarter, they seemed like they had the ball the whole time. It was like
Yeah.
3 and out, or turnover, and out.
There was 5 straight punts. 5 straight punts.
Yeah.
I don't, and one thing I'm gonna say is this: Hudson, he played a good, he played. I think he played fairly well today. Yeah, he didn't end up with 100 yards and a touchdown or nothing, but Hudson came in there and did his job. Boyd came in there, he played well. Chase played well. But I put this blame, and I'm sorry. Well, actually, I'm not even sorry. I don't even care. I put this blame on Burrow. Burrow cost us this game. He cost us this game. And I know I kind of listened to his conference a little bit ago, just a little bit. And he's like, oh, we just need to work. No, you need to take responsibility. You need to be the quarterback that you're getting paid to do. Making stupid plays, making stupid passes for interceptions, that's really unacceptable. If he is a true top 3 quarterback in the NFL, those were kind of I don't know if he was just trying to push the ball down the field. He was in a hurry because he knew we were behind.
I can get that one. The guy dropped back, and he didn't throw it with any arc when he was rolling out to his right, trying to hit that touchdown when you're down 2 scores, 5 minutes left. I get you're pressing a little bit. Still a pretty bad pass. The other one, like, you got to know who your audience is, man. You're trying to throw a seam route to Drew Sample and expect him to catch the ball, in between the linebacker and the safety and make a heroic jumping catch. That's not who you got running that route. You know what I mean? I agree with that one. That was totally on him. Chase, what you hear these sentiments and think they're right, or you got a little different take on the game?
You guys can hear me correct, right? Got to ask every time.
Yes, sir.
Good. I echo all the sentiments and everything. Me being a stats guy, numbers guy, let me drop you some stats here real quick. So, the Texans are 9-2 in their last 11 games against Cincinnati Bengals. They have our number. We haven't beaten the Texans in Cincinnati since 2005. We won 16-10 against David Carr. Another thing is this: the home team hasn't won a game in this series since the 2013 AFC wild card game between these two teams. It's been a road series, regardless of who's at quarterback, who's playing in this game. And I'm not saying that's the reason why we lost. It's just one of those things that kind of haunted me throughout the week when it came up to this game. I'm like, this is just a weird feeling about this one, And I didn't expect the Bengals to somewhat overlook the Texans or anything like that. I don't think they overlooked them. They just didn't execute. And that's what me and Justin talked about on our show. Like, if the Bengals don't execute at all, if we execute, we're going to win the game. We didn't execute. And obviously we didn't win the game. It's just, man, it is really frustrating to see Devin Singletary, a cast off of the Buffalo Bills, go for his career high 150 plus yards. And Noah Brown, I got a text saying that Noah Brown is really good. Noah Brown just happened to be guarded by Casper the Ghost today. No one wanted to guard Noah Brown. It's unbelievable in my mind. Like, he has like 3 or 4 catches where he's finding the soft spot in the zone. And again, why are we playing zone? It's incredible what happened today. 544 yards given up, just like Tim mentioned. I understand C.J. Stroud, really good quarterback. He should be considered an MVP conversation right now. He really should. Like, after this game today, he should. But it is super frustrating when, this team has won before without some of their top guys, and we have all of these weapons, and just seeing teams like Baltimore or seeing, teams like Cleveland and Pittsburgh today, win their games. When Pittsburgh has a great defense and no competent offense, and Cleveland Browns have a great defense and a very inconsistent offense, and we are so blessed with weapons, we are blessed with a great defensive coordinator, and we just don't decide to show up today on both sides of the ball at any opportune times of the game. And we decided, we're going to play cardiac cats, and we're going to give you guys a heart attack. We're going to give you guys false hope. We're gonna make it a tie ball game and everything, and then lose in the end. That was a typical Bungles fashion right there. The Bungle days are over, but I mean that was just a blast from the past. And I don't think I've been this mad at a game since regular season game since week 1 of 2022 against Pittsburgh Steelers. That
a Bungles relapse.
A Bungles relapse, to say the least. Yeah, AA therapy might be good. But I'll say this, man. All the emotions came out today. There were a lot of plays where Joe Burrow was able to extend plays and make some good ones, but when he made the bad plays, oh my goodness, they were terrible. Like just mentioned, the first interception that Burrow threw in the fourth quarter, I thought the game was canned right there. He overthrew Drew Sample of all people. Yeah, that's a tough throw to make. Throws it over the hands of Drew Sample and it's intercepted. That's tough. The second one, oh my gosh, man! It's first down and goal. Just throw it away. Live to fight another down. And I'll say again, when we got a couple plays before Boyd dropped the touchdown, and I will say this: Tyler Boyd did not cost us the game. People that are saying all that stuff, just keep your thoughts to yourself, or just go somewhere else with all that stuff. When it's first and goal, from the 7-yard line, and time is not an issue. Why aren't we running the football when you're averaging 4 yards a carry? Why aren't you running a draw play? Why aren't you doing any of that stuff? And you instead decide to pass the football when they have a pretty energetic front. And they're like, we got a sack. What was it? Sheldon Rankins had a career game. Hadn't had 3 sacks in over 3 years of his career, and had 3 sacks today, I believe. He had 2 or 3 sacks. He had a lot of hits to Burrow today. It was unbelievable just to see.
It made him look like Aaron Donald.
Exactly. It made him look like Aaron Donald had 3 laps of the Super Bowl. But it's crazy because you throw on first down, get sacked. You run the quarterback draw on second down, don't get a single thing out of that. And then the third down play, the Boyd, it sucks that he dropped that. It really does. Yeah. But it's just the first down and second down.
It shouldn't have got to that.
They set up your third down. And it's like, it's okay. We'll get him back on the next down. Well, and that's critical situation of coaching. You got to have a better play call out of there, man. And it's just really frustrating to watch that whole thing. And again, I think we all know the defense was just so bad today. They really were. It was every aspect possible. CJ Stroud made some Joe Burrow-like plays that we're used to seeing Joe Burrow make, getting out of the pocket, running around and everything.
Yeah, CJ Stroud's a great player. They have a very good young team.
Yeah.
But I started having the frustrations with play calling in the second quarter. Like I again, pass. Like, what are we doing when we're running the ball for 4 or 5 yards a clip? At least sprinkle it in there. Also, those guys are pinning their ears back and rushing up the field.
Yep.
Our guys aren't pass blocking very well. Get them to be honest, and you can do that by running the football. If they just know that they're coming after you every play, then Rankins looks like Aaron Donald. That's what happens.
Exactly.
Justin, you were saying?
Yeah, 2 things. Number 1, a Bungles relapse is a great way to define how this game it should be titled. A Bungles relapse. It's exactly what we saw today.
Classic.
And when it came to the second interception, the reason why you got to put that on Burrow, both of them on Burrow, like those are just inexcusable. But the second one was even more inexcusable and damn near frustrating. And it is frustrating, was because you had it right there in your lap with Jamar Chase catching the ball, taking a late hit, gotten 15 yards, the penalty yards added on top of it to get you right there in scoring zone. You didn't have to force that throw. And I know he's going to beat himself over the head with that, because that one right there, we all thought, all right, this game's over after that one. It was very cool to see CTB go and get the interception right back and basically give the offense another shot.
He played that really well too.
He really did. And, if somebody is going to give my game ball on the defense side of the ball, really it's going to be him, although he had a lot of missed tackles too. So with that being said, even the touchdown run that Mixon had to put it within 3 points. Before that even happened, Joe Burrow missed a wide open Trenton Irwin on the right side, right in the right flat. He missed him wide open. I don't know what was that. Like it was just so many things that I saw from this offense. The play calling was just garbage. The rushing game was just garbage. You had rushing lanes there if you would have paced yourself. There was no creativity. It just felt like that. Take the ball in shotgun and then just hope that somebody comes open. Yeah, you can move the pocket a little bit here and there, but it was just god awful today with the offense after that very first drive of the game. And even when we did make it interesting late in the game and could have won the game, the right team ultimately ended up winning, and that was Houston because they showed up, they showed out. CJ Stroud played electric today, even though I don't think he's better than Burrow, but he played, like you said, Chase, similar to like what Burrow has done. He even said it himself after the game in the post-game interview. Is like he's a very big fan of Burrow. He does model some of his game after him as well, too. And it felt like that Joe Burrow lost his game to Joe Burrow 2.0. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'll tell you one, and I agree with you. I'm probably going to give CTB my game ball and defense. That said, frustration I have with him, I don't understand why he doesn't wrap up to tackle. 15 seconds left, his ball in the left flat, and he goes and throws a shoulder instead of wrapping up and making a tackle. You should have done everything in your power to keep that guy in bounds. Because if he's in bounds, they only had one timeout left. They call their timeout left there. Then they're having a hard time running that next play. They're very much more limited because now if you run another play, you have to get out of bounds. You don't have time to run it, go up and spike the ball and get the field goal unit out. Would have caused a whole new set of issues if he would have tackled him in bounds and there would have been 14 or 13 seconds left. So, you start looking at little plays like that, plays like they just compounded each other, like the play with Burrow interception, the play with Boyd dropping the ball. It was just one after the other. If any one of a handful of plays go differently, we're having a good time on this. We're still having some concerns, but we're in a much better mood. So I don't know. The other thing that major concern I have, Hendrickson getting rolled up on after the play was over out of some nonsense, silliness. I hope he's okay. I didn't look good. But, Trey Hendrickson is our pass rush at this point in time. So if we don't have him, we're a totally different looking defense.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
Why don't we move Trey Hendrickson around left and right like the best pass rushers in the league do, just like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Michael Parsons, Nick Bosa, they move him around left and right. Why don't we move Trey Hendrickson around and toy the defense a little bit? Chris Jones and the defensive tackle. Aaron Donald moves around to the all right, I'm going to stop.
I was talking about that on Twitter Spaces before we did our show. That conversation got brought up. Our defense literally becomes predictable because Trey Hendrickson on a D line, he's always lined up against the left tackle and he doesn't move around. That is very frustrating, honestly.
You're going to tie him up on the left side and ship him every single time if you want to. You're going to line him up on the left side. If he's moving around every play, you got to go check to the line, do all this stuff, and it puts the offense in a flux. But
we said earlier in the year, like, why aren't we running Jamar Chase in more, sprint motion? Why aren't we moving him, in and out and in all over the place? We start doing it immediately. 12 catches in one game, 15 catches in another. Like, I don't know. You probably got a point there, Chase. Now, listen, all the doom and gloom said, I'm going to revert back to one thing before we go take a quick break. Next week, we're 5-4, just like we have been the past 3 years. Next week, we have a must-win game, Thursday night football in Baltimore. And if somehow we can get our act together and come home with a win, every team in the division except one is going to have 4 losses because the Browns and the Steelers are playing each other. So we're going to bring that pack in real tight if we can pull that off. So not all hope is lost yet, but we got to win Thursday night football. So with that said, I'm going to take a quick break. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast, take a quick second while we're playing these commercials. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share on your social media, share with a friend. Get us out there. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. We'll be right back in a second. All right, welcome back to the Roaring Reactions and Coach's Cliff Notes here on the Running Through the Jungle channel, Fans First Sports Network. We actually have a couple of little Coach's Cliff Notes. I don't know if any of you guys watched any of it. I think, Tim, you made a comment to it. Not a whole lot of meat on the bone in these press conferences. There normally isn't. Cincinnati is at home. It was hard to hear. It was kind of some layup questions. The only thing that Zach Taylor said, he said one thing that keeps irritating me. He said, I don't know, I'll have to check the tape. I'm tired of that. Stop. We know that that's a way out for you. Whatever. I get that. The other thing he said, we had too many opportunities to make plays to win the game to focus on one play. I think we've all kind of shared that sentiment. There was at least a handful of plays that could have won this game for us. He said that, taking away some of the heat from Tyler Boyd, that was kind of the question that was led there. But I will say, partly because Tyler Boyd's earned that right. He's a veteran that doesn't drop a lot of balls. Today was an anomaly for him in my mind. And then Joe Burrow came out, obviously not in a great state of mind. Wasn't, as Tim said, was kind of deflecting of most of the questions that were asked. One thing that he said that kind of stuck out in my mind, he said, I thought Zach called a really good game the second half. So does that mean he didn't call a good game the first half? Am I reading too much into that? Because I felt like I thought the same thing. I thought he called a pretty terrible second quarter. So I don't know. Maybe we're seeing some, some dislikes of play calls and play calling. Anybody read anything into those comments, or business as usual, or where are we going from there?
I'll say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one point, I believe, in Burrow's press conference. I was listening to it for a bit, and you were talking about, the microphones, audio is not too good with the reporters here in Cincinnati. Okay, not too good. But someone said, "How does this loss make you feel?" And Burrow just was like, "You watched the game. What do you think?" And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna just say this for the journalists and all the other media that are coming out there. I'm in college going for journalism. They're talking about, all right, there's no such thing as a stupid question. That right there is a stupid question to ask Cincinnati. It's a valid question to ask, man, why'd you throw that one pass on 1st and 10, on first and goal, whatever it was, to throw a pick? Why'd you throw that? That's one valid question you can ask. But how does this feel? How does this make you feel? Bruh, the journalism, man, like, it pisses me.
Be better.
Be better. Come on. That's all I
And
got.
And you know what's funny is this, Chase. You know who asked that question, don't you?
I'm trying to think. Who did?
It was James Rapine who asked that question.
Really?
Yes, it was. It was James Rapine, because I was listening, and he goes, and I thought it was funnier than hell when Burrow goes, "You watched the game, you tell me."
That was hilarious. Yeah.
Like, hello, Captain Obvious. We're not,
Wow.
that was a stupid question.
Come on. Time and place, but still, it's a valid question to ask. Man, what were you doing on that 1st and goal, or the 1st and 10 on the 15-yard line? That's a valid question, but that again, I don't sound like Stephen A. Smith. I digress.
I do want to add, because I saw cliff notes of the press conferences, but I didn't listen to the press conference, either one of them, because I was just too fuming. I was too much in my own space, mad over the game. But based off of the cliff notes that I did see, I'm not really impressed with what I've heard, or so to speak. It just feels like this team just operating with the mind frame of what us fans feel. Like, this was a game that you shouldn't have lost, that you had the golden opportunity to stake your claim into a lot of things, and you just let me just call it what it is. You shit the bed at home. You were dominating cats at home, minus the Baltimore game, which you almost won that game too, by the way, with the hurt Burrow. But this was a game that you had all the opportunity in front of you. You win this game, you carry that momentum going into Thursday night, and you happen to pull off that dogfight coming up. Then all of a sudden, you're showing yourself as not only that the number one contender in the AFC, but your quarterback is the front runner of MVP, and people really are going to take you serious as the team that might get the number one seed. That kind of goes out the window a little bit after today. Now, the season is not lost. It's not. But the accountability mirror has to be held up in front of their faces. And I think that they're just so sick and tired of just not playing up to their standard. And they know this. I think Joe Burrow's also showing that he's really frustrated with the dumb questions too. Because if I'm hearing responses like that, that just tells me, man, look, he don't want no parts of this right now, and he's just too upset and angry and mad at himself, because I think that he does know he kind of cost this team the game too, even though he did fight them back in it single-handedly, felt like in the second half. But that's my overall takeaway from with this. I feel like this team vibe and their approach based off of the cliff notes from the press conferences.
Yeah, I could see the take where he kept us, he got us in the game and took us out of the game at the same time. You know, I get that. Burrow stats 27 of 40 for 347, 2 tutties and 2 picks. Take 2 picks away, we're talking about how great Joe Burrow is, right? And some of the balls he threw, he's special, man. He's fun to watch. He just got to make, and listen, I don't think that the balls he threw, they weren't physical errors to me. They were mental errors. He's got to be sharper, make better decisions with the ball, period. Stroud was 23 of 39 for 356, 1 tutty, 1 pick. You talk about similar games, similar numbers, like
old-fashioned duel for gunslingers, man. That's what it is.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I know this is gonna be tough, but I'm gonna make you do it. Justin, give me your offensive and defensive game balls.
Offensive game ball, I'm going with Jamar Chase. He played hurt, got us back into the game with big catches, called a long ball touchdown, as we know. And really, I think that they should have kept featuring him in that final drive, or even a drive before that when Joe Burrow threw out ill-advised interception. I just felt like that he was the light that kept this offense going in the moment where it seemed dark, and his presence on the field still speaks a large volume. So he gets my offensive game ball, even though we didn't win. On the defensive side of the ball, it is tough because I can't really pick any of them other than CTB getting an interception that put us right back in this spot to go score and almost basically pull out the win. I guess, as an honorable mention, I'll give him that. But I did pick Sam Hubbard before we even started, like in the last episode, when we did our last episode of Run Through the Jungle. Mm-hmm. I picked Sam Hubbard to get my game ball, as he's the Cincinnati kid. He was missing today. So obviously you can't select him for the on-field performance, but he just showed his value is why he should be on the field, because that run defense was absolutely atrocious. And if Sam Hubbard would have played, you would like to think that run defense would have been a hell of a lot better. However, no excuses, no injury excuses at all. So I could give him an honorable mention, but I will stick with CTB for now.
Yeah, I definitely like that take. Hubbard definitely showed his worth by not being there. Sometimes you don't miss it until it's gone. Kind of a conclusion there for me. Tim, I'm going to throw it over to you. Offensive and defensive game balls. How do you see it? Anything different from what Mr. Lacey said?
I agree with him. Jamar Chase deserves the offensive game ball. He went out there, he was hurt, and you could kind of tell because, he was only targeted 6 times in that game. So I'm under the assumption that he was still, battling with the injury. So yes, Jamar Chase definitely game ball.
If you watched him, there were a handful of times he didn't even run a route. At least a handful of times he didn't even run a route. He literally had safety roll over corner on him, double teamed, and they said hike, and it was a pass play, and he just stood there.
Yep. And I think most of the time he was in there for decoy. So Boyd and whoever else could get open. But I'll tell you this right now: if Tyler Boyd would have caught that touchdown, he would have been my game ball for the day. Defensive wise, I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to give it to Jermaine Pratt. Even though CTB had that pick, he allowed quite a few plays that shouldn't have happened. So I'm going to give mine to Jermaine Pratt. He had a tackle for loss, I think 9 or 10 tackles. So mine's going to go to Jermaine Pratt.
Yeah, that is what you live and die with CTB, and he's an aggressive corner. He's going to get called for some penalties. He's going to give up a splash play here and there, but he's also going to make them. And it's 4 out of 5 games that he's got a pick. I'll live with it. I'll live with the aggression. I kind of dig it. But I understand when people get frustrated. Chase, putting you on a spot, offensive, defensive game balls. What you got?
Offensive, it's Chase, Jamar Chase. He had the big touchdown that cut it to 3 before the end of the third quarter. He had a couple of really big catches down the stretch, so he was obviously had a big part to be on the field and everything. I do agree with Tim. If Boyd would have caught that touchdown, it would be a little different, and we'd obviously be very happy about that. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll tell you 2 things. One person I'm not giving the game ball to was Nick Scott. Why is he out on the field? I don't understand that. And the second thing is this sounds real cliche, but I'm giving the defensive game ball to the second quarter offense. They kept it away from us. Our offense kept it away from us. So I'm gonna go second quarter offense gets a defensive game ball for the MVP. I ain't holding back right now. All right, I went and took a drive real quick, just chilled out, everything like that. But nah, I'm back with the energy, bro. Second quarter offense, man. Zach Taylor, thanks a lot.
That's great. That's great. Well, Jamar Chase, 5 catches, 124 yards, a touchdown, almost 25 yards, a reception. The touchdown, the 64-yard touchdown? 64-yard touchdown.
Yeah, that was 64, yeah.
Was another play where he did not go out on a route. He was checked down, and when Burrow rolled to his left, he took off. And that's just 2 guys knowing each other and doing their thing, man. And that was pretty awesome to see. But yeah, I think Jamar Chase gutted it out. I think if the T. Higgins doesn't pull a hamstring in practice, he's not out there. And because he went out like that, they say, well, going out on your shield and fighting or whatever. I give that to him. Burrow didn't have a bad stat line. If he doesn't throw, if he gets 3 tutties and 1 pick, then maybe we talk about it. But that's not what happened. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, here's my problem with the defensive side of the ball. 4 out of 5 top tacklers in our game today on our side of the ball were in our secondary. That's not a good sign. Let's see. I think we had 7 for Pratt is what I got. I've got 9 for Cam Taylor-Britt, 8 for Hilton, 8 for Awuzie, 7 for Dex Hill, and a 9 for Pratt as well, but only 4 solo tackles, 5 assists. So 4 out of our top 5. I was happy to see that, like I said, we're talking back a stage. We've been lit up by tight ends recently. Schultz gets off to a big start. And then we finally roll Dax Hill over and play on top of him. That was a good move. He only had 1 catch after that. It was a good catch. It was a big catch, but he only had 1 catch after we started rolling Dax Hill up and press coverage on him. Nick Scott, again, he's one of those guys where he doesn't hurt you, like as a safety. He doesn't hurt you, get burnt on big plays very often. But, man, he has plays right in front of him he just doesn't make either, especially tackling. And why we throw him on a blitz, like that's just a waste to me. Even when he gets home, he just whiffs. So I would quit doing that. Everything said and done, I mean, I gotta give CTB getting that interception. That's who I gotta give the defensive game ball to. But clean sweep for Jamar with us. Showing again, he's becoming a leader, sucking it up, going out there and doing his thing, and special to watch, man. They're a lot of fun to watch when they're going right, but definitely need some defensive help. But that said, it's over with. We're all into Baltimore. We gotta go win this game. Chase, what are your final thoughts before we get into dissecting this game on Cut to the Chase? Be on Tuesday night, YouTube, Wednesday morning for you on your audio podcast. Before you dissect the game too much coming up for Thursday, what are your thoughts on the game?
I got 3 words for Thursday night. I am frightened because we have not won a road night game in 11 years. That was on Thursday Night Football, but obviously we'll do a deep dive into that a little bit more. But, if the players show up and ball out with their backs against the wall, then, there's a chance to win this football game. But if we come out flat and everything, it's going to be a very, very long night from MT Bank Stadium.
Yeah, definitely could turn out that way. Tim, what are your final thoughts before we wrap this up?
First thing I want to say is, and I just want to say 2 things here. First thing is, I want to give CJ Stroud props. That kid went out there and balled today. And I am eating crow. Like I said on Wednesday, I give him props, and he's going to be a hell of a quarterback in years to come. When it comes to this game that's coming up on Thursday against the Ravens, yeah, I'm a little worried, because if Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards decide to run the football all over us, and then or Lamar decides to sit in the pocket and throw some deep passes to Andrews or OBJ, because they're actually playing pretty well. But their fourth quarter defense doesn't show up. So let's hope that the defense doesn't show up for the whole 4 quarters instead of just the fourth quarter for us. Today.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup when you look at them running the ball and looking at us being very ineffective right now against the run. Justin, what are your final thoughts, my friend?
As frustrating as this game was for being a Bengals fan, this was still a very entertaining game when it all shook down in the end. You had us on the edge of our seats. You had a lot of eyeballs watching this game if they were tuning in. Whether if you're not a Bengals or Texans fan and you're just a casual NFL watcher, a part of you was looking at this game thinking, "Is the Bengals going to pull off the comeback win?" I was thinking that too. So it was a very entertaining game from that standpoint. I think this tells us more about the Houston Texans. We've already mentioned CJ Stroud, but shout out to DeMeco Ryans, man. I think that he should be the odds-on favorite to win Coach of the Year now with the team, with the job that he's doing with this team. Never mind CJ Stroud, but this is an undermanned Texans team that was missing a lot of guys, and yet they've now won 2 straight games in close game fashions, one of them being on the road against a severe AFC Super Bowl contender in the Cincinnati Bengals, and yet DeMeco Ryans showed them that you don't need to be fazed by this. They humbled us, and we cannot be walking around here thinking that we're hot stuff when we haven't proven a lot of stuff yet. We did a great job winning 4 straight games after starting off 1-3. But this is going to be an absolute test of the season now in this game in Baltimore on Thursday night. Yeah, we can say all we want to. We can't lose the game. But at the end of the day, they still got to go out there and play the game. And I'm not going to say our season is going to be over if we don't win. But, man, your season looks a hell of a lot better if you do win. And the confidence is going to just shoot far high through the roof into the sky. So as frustrating as I was, and I'm still am frustrated, it's probably going to take a little bit for me to get over this, of course. what an entertaining game. I got to give it that it was such a great game to watch if you're a casual NFL watcher. So that's my parting shots. Those are what I'll leave the fans with. I'm still going to, be confident in this team. We still got top two quarterback in the league and Joe Burrow. And I feel like that we will do a great job in rebound some point I'm not going to be worried too much about it because it's not like that he stunk up the whole entire joint today. So just tough loss, frustrating loss more than anything. But we're going to have to rebound. We have no other choice.
Yeah, it's what really comes to my mind is it's the NFL, man. These are professionals. They come out to play. No one's going to roll over unless you're playing the New York Giants. They seem to be rolling over, looking for belly rubs. But these guys out here come to play, and look, we got another young gun in the AFC, man. The quarterback room in the AFC is deep. He looks like he could be the real deal, and it's gonna get interesting for the future as well. But yeah, we gotta do a better job in the trenches for sure. Our offensive line it is up the middle, not doing the job. The guards, they can run block better than they can pass block right now, and that's a problem when you're going to pass the ball 80% of the time. So we got to figure that part out, either re-scheme some things, or we're going to have to start looking for new pieces going forward. That's for the coaches to figure out, right? Also on defense, Trey Hendrickson worries me. Hubbard's calf worries me because this isn't the first time he's had a calf injury. So if we're looking at our depth pieces next week going into Baltimore, Miles Murphy, this is baptism by fire. Okay. You're going to have to figure it out, kid. So there's going to be a lot of leaning on some guys. Hill and Reed are going to have to play better than they did today. That's for sure. So, but hey, we'll dig in more on that. Like I said, we'll cut to the chase Wednesday night, aka Thursday morning on your podcast. Wednesday night on your YouTube channel, you'll see us on Running Through the Jungle. We'll dive into that game a little bit more. We'll dive into the season a little bit more, and man. Why do we always make it so tough on ourselves, guys? It's just a rough one. But for Chase Younts, Justin Lacey, Tim Lyons, I'm Brandon Harriet. Thank you for joining us on the Rory Reactions, the Coach's Cliff Notes. Till next week, Hoo Day. We'll see you then.